Sorry. I don't know why there's a glitch. The video wasn't working. What's poppin', my friend? We start this way then. What's poppin', my friends? Let me fix the sound. I want to start with these videos. We have a banger stream. I don't know why it does that, man. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna restart this so we can get the sound playing. I have Sarah, Jamal join us. We're gonna be covering all the craziness going on in Europe. That's crazy, man. The one time, literally the one time I don't do like a pre-sound check, that's the one time it messes up. So, of course, let's try this again.
Friedrich Merz of Germany officially announced that they will be providing Ukraine with long-range missiles so they can fire deep into Russia. Germany is officially the last major European country to allow long-range strikes into Russia. This is essentially the entirety of the EU declaring war against Russia. And for what? This won't win Ukraine the war. This won't change the status of the battlefield or temper Russian demands. This is only designed to provoke World War III. Ukraine can't man these weapons. They would need the help of Germany. And in this situation, Russia views it no differently than Germany actively being at war with Russia. And how is that not the case when you have European missiles flying into Russia using Ukraine as a base? And since Germany is obsessed with waging war against Russia, apparently there is chatter in Moscow over Russia launching attacks against Germany in retaliation. This will be a complete disaster, invoking Article 5, which is exactly what Zelensky wanted. Zelensky has made it perfectly clear that his strategy for defeating Russia is for NATO to invoke Article 5 and plunging the world into World War III, and the bloodthirsty European leaders are more than happy to play along. Friedrich Merz of Germany has recently promised to keep the Nordstream pipeline shut down, deepening the energy crisis within Germany. It is so bad that many prominent German politicians have come out in support of restoring the Nordstream pipeline because they realized after Nordstream shut down, it came at a great cost to the German people. Nina Scheer, the Social Democrat energy spokesperson, claimed that U.S. sanctions against Russian energy and against the Nord Stream 2 is illegal and violates international law. And Friedrich Merz is openly shutting these politicians down by claiming that there's no way that Germany will ever restore the Nord Stream pipeline. Isn't it interesting how the entirety of the West accused Russia of bombing their own pipeline? Now they're the ones who are fighting against that pipeline being restored. Now let's think about how dark this is. Friedrich Merz is a former Blackrock executive that is now telling the German people that they must accept sacrifices and suffer in order to support his war. Despite the fact that Germany's economy is in shambles, the country has been hijacked by Blackrock, who is obsessed into leading the continent into never-ending war. Another reason why this is deeply troubling is because this is Germany sending a clear message to Russia that their hostility and their conflict is permanent. The European ruling class is completely deranged, and they will never stop fighting against Russia, even at a great cost to the quality of life of their own people.
What's poppin'? Welcome back. We have a banger show at RBN today. This is the RBN DDG dual stream. We also have a RBN double header today. JB and Sabby will be live with the amazing Rachel Blevin. So we're gonna have geopolitics double power hour back to back. But I'm gonna introduce my friend. She's been writing some great articles. I mean, you guys are killing that DDG. What's part of my friend Sarah?
Hi, how are you? It's funny that you're mentioning Blackrock and my articles because in the recent one about the privatization of Ukraine, obviously, Blackrock is very heavily into the privatization of Ukraine, which is interesting that Merz wants them to continue to be at war.
Yep. It's I explained last night how Europe is completely cooked. This is just another example of that. How all the European leaders are coming from banks. Like they're
Yes.
all bankers. They come from BlackRock. That's Friedrich Merz. Emmanuel Macron, he's a former banker.
Mhm.
I'm blanking on her name. The Italian Prime Minister Meloni.
Meloni.
Didn't she come from like Goldman Sachs or something?
Yeah, and then Ursula was also into banking. They've all been into banking.
Just saying, that's what capitalist dictatorship look like. So let's analyze the situation. Like I said on my hotspot video, Sarah, we have Europe, whose democracies have been completely hijacked by private industry infiltrators who do the bidding and promote never-ending war that benefits BlackRock. Germany is a big armor and supporter of the genocide in Yemen, and not Yemen, but in Gaza. And BlackRock is directly benefited from that. They're big supporters of the war in Ukraine. BlackRock is trying to rebuild Ukraine. They're benefiting from that. So we have European leaders that are coming from directly the capitalist class. They got rid of the middlemen. They used to hire spokespeople to do this. They would be lobbyists. They got rid of the middlemen. Now they directly be taking government roles, plunging their societies into austerity in order to promote their wars. Meanwhile, they think we're treasonous. Isn't that treasonous, Sarah?
Well, we're dealing with a different type of imperialism. People think like there's like this silent, soft technology, soft services, soft goods imperialism that we are very much involved in. And it's not governmental anymore. Even the imperialism is privatized. And it's very interesting that, we have, it's all multinational corporations. They all are just working together to kind of enrich themselves. So it's just that they kind of have this parallel world and parallel government in where they live. And that's basically like, that's how they do imperialism. They do it quietly, they do it covertly, and they do it with soft power and soft goods. And that's why you're not seeing these huge knockout, drag out wars, but even in the smaller skirmishes, there's tons of imperialism going on and recolonization. I talked about it yesterday with Jamal. Or was I on with Garland? I don't remember, but either I did both of them this week. I don't remember which one was which day, but we talked about this sort of weird imperialism that they're engaging in to kind of hold on to their power. And it's very much reminiscent of World War II, except there was a hard imperialism during World War II, and now we're looking at a soft imperialism.
You have all these MAGA people. You have all these people in Europe. They say, it's time for us to get serious. It's time for us to compete against China. China is doing all these things like investing in education infrastructure. It's time for us to catch up. And then what do? They didn't cut funding for infrastructure, cut speed for high-speed rail, cut education, and then spend $1 trillion on the military.
Exactly.
How is that going to catch America up with China? Can someone explain that to me? Because that's the MAGA agenda. The MAGA agenda is essentially trickle-down economics 2.0.
Oh yeah. It's funny because even the Golden Dome. She said trickle-down economics. Even the Golden Dome, that is a Reagan policy. That was I'll just keep going. That was kind of enacted.
No, that was my brother. He was trying to call me. He should know. My brother. Sorry, go ahead, Sarah.
That was kind of enacted in the same scenario. It was enacted in the Cold War in order to threaten Russia and to make them start spending money. And now we're reintroducing this. It's all the same. It's all just a kind of revolving door of ideas and whatnot. It's MAGA's a mess. This China thing is so funny. Every time they tell me like China steals all of our stuff, they don't honor intellectual property. And I'm like, then why is all of theirs better? Like if they stole everything from us, why is theirs so much more advanced?
It's crazy how like they can convince boomers of this nonsense with these talking points. Goddamn, China's stealing our intellectual property. Like imagine someone accused you of cheating on someone in a test, but you got a higher grade than them. Like you got like an A on your test, and then the teacher accused you of copying on someone who got a C minus. That's what they accuse China of doing all the time.
Yeah, it would be like if I didn't know the math problem to begin with, but then I copied half of the formula off of you and then I invented the other half and improved on it. It doesn't even make sense. So this whole like China steals from us and we're not gonna. Somebody said China's eating our dinner. Exactly that. Like we're never gonna catch up to China, like dilly dallying around with the Gulf states, and it's just it's ridiculous.
I saw this earlier. I decided to throw this in now since we're talking about Trump. I did a segment roasting Alex Jones over his copium, where he said Donald Trump is getting bad information. Let me zoom in. I know it's kind of hard to see here. So how is this? How is this government and governing that enables corruption? How is this going to help us catch up to China? How is MAGA, Trump supporters, how does Trump letting Boeing off? And remember, I did multiple hotspots on Boeing. Boeing was allowing recycled trash to be used on parts, and they covered it up. Let me read the headline for the people who ain't listening. And I want you to respond as well, Sarah. The Trump Justice Department and Boeing have reached a deal allowing the airplane company to avoid prosecution over 737 MAX crashes. How does this make America great again, my friends? Please explain to me. You have China that's locking up corrupt billionaires, corrupt business owners. Meanwhile, MAGA is letting them off scot-free. They're letting scam artists. Trump is pardoning MAGA influencers left and right. Once again, I would love to have a conversation with these people. How are these moves supposed to make the American working class stronger? How is it supposed to increase our standing on the global stage? How is it supposed to help us compete against China, which is your guys' stated objective? But Sarah, you have
a multitude of those things. Not only that, but it also discourages future whistleblowing, because what's the point? Why would you even care to blow the whistle? This also
that's a great
back
point.
Back to the Boeing thing, them avoiding prosecution. On Trump's tour of the Gulf, Boeing scored a contract for $14 billion from Etihad Airways in order to spike its stock and kind of re-legitimate. Now, $14 billion isn't a large contract, but they also received other contracts. So it was in order to kind of prop up the legitimacy. Well, they can't be investing and doing deals with a company that's under prosecution by the Justice Department. So they drop all charges. No prosecution, all is good. Moving on with the Etihad Airways deal. That's all this is, and they had to do something because China stood up and said, you know what? I'll just work with Airbus. I don't even need to work with Boeing. Screw it. And now they went into damage control mode.
Yeah. Speaking of MAGA openly selling now, I just saw this before it went live as well. And the excuses I'm hearing, I decided I could do a Nick at Night just because I wanted to roast Alex Jones. And I'm going to continue to hold these people accountable because remember, and we talk about this on the show. It's a recurring theme on Nick and Sarah when we talk about the slop the MAGA fake news slop all over X and Twitter. Don't you know that Trump is going to recognize Palestine?
He put Bibi in his place.
Trump is breaking up with Netanyahu, Sarah. Don't you know?
They don't like each other. Trump's not taking any of his crap. He's putting his foot down. Enough is enough.
If only I dragged you guys through these kind of storylines. Like, if only I was shameless like that. Maybe I have a million subscribers because that's how it's done, guys. You create these storylines. It doesn't have to be true. But hey, guys, don't you know? Hey, man, we got to support the MAGA movement. Trump is actually working 5D chess. He is outworking the Israelis. He's working behind their back. He's got Netanyahu in the crank. Bro, we could make bank if I just drag people along.
You watch them on Twitter, right? And all they do is like clip the nice little 30-second blip or just put up the headline, but they don't follow up with the fact that Rubio was on the phone a few hours later saying, yo, we still got you. Like, it's all good.
Yeah.
Because he was. He called them and said, we still back you up no matter what. And then Trump came out, 2 days later and said, I'm not frustrated with Bibi. He's got a very difficult job on his hands. But nobody watched that. Nobody talked about that. These MAGA people are a menace on Twitter, which is why I've been trying to focus on other platforms. But they are a menace. And you know who I'm talking about, Nick Sorter.
Bro, these MAGA people will post shit like this. They will say JD Vance kills it in fiery speech. I'm getting emotional. like, dude, get yourself together, bro. Like alpha energy. Like, come on,
I
bro.
was in space last night. They were talking about this, and I was just going, "Oh no, Trump was mean to him," because they were just like I'm like, you guys will settle for any crumbs that they're willing to give you. Like the whole like insulting Cyril Ramaphosa in the White House. They're like, this is what I voted for. I'm like, to embarrass all of us and just insult a leader and get nothing done? Like, what are you doing here? It's
Trump
just literally sport, really.
Trump literally accomplished nothing other than culture war shit. He would do he would like sign these culture war initiatives. And then MAGA people would be like, "Oh, this is why I voted for Donald Trump." Donald Trump would be like, I have an executive order. I got something for the American working class. Listen to this. I have an executive order where I want to take back Christopher Columbus Day.
Yeah,
I want to make Christopher Columbus an American hero again. And then you have all these MAGA accounts that are like, "This is why I voted for him. This is America's back. America's back. Christopher Columbus is back." Like, this is the unseriousness. And at this rate, Donald Trump is going to be the least accomplished president ever. He hasn't done anything other than culture war shit. He didn't get peace in Ukraine. The war in Gaza is still going on. He's been fucking quote unquote misled by his advisors. But Sarah, I think you want to chime in.
And that's why they do this every once in a while, to keep you distracted from the fact that they promised us an end to that war in 24 hours, that they promised us other things amongst Israel, that they promised us 90 deals, 90 days, and we have 0. And they promised us that we would be winning and crushing in this tariff war, and all we've gotten is insider trading and a crypto treasury. So they have to throw these things at you. It's all, and then they make you feel like an asshole when you're like, I don't appreciate this. Like, I don't care. Like when they're like, oh, Pete Hegseth is taking trannies out of the military. Yeah, I voted for this. And I'm like, that's not one of the deals. That's not a deal. Like, and so when you complain about stuff like he hasn't done anything, or he hasn't helped stop the war in Ukraine, in fact, he's done the opposite. They get to say, but they got trannies out of the military, and we're doing a golden dome, and all this other bullcrap platitude, like empty nonsense, all the woke stuff, the woke right stuff. It's madness. I mean, they've got an attorney general who is completely in bed with Qatar, who was an attorney when Epstein, a state attorney when Epstein was molesting children, and she's his attorney general. Like, these people don't care. They don't care. They promise the Epstein files. They promise the JFK files. They promise this. They promise that. They don't deliver on anything, and they just make excuses. They're completely out of their depth. They're completely incompetent, and they should have been insulted. And this isn't just about Trump, because we know that it doesn't just rest on Trump's shoulders, obviously. But the other day when he was asked about the assassination attempt on Putin, and him to not know that and to not have been briefed about that, and that was hours after the fact, is disgraceful. And not only even on Trump, it is disgraceful on the people that surround him. Disgraceful. They have no clue what's going on. They have no idea how to react. It's all just like, it's all bread. It's all circus and no bread. No bread, all circus.
I told you guys, this generation of the ruling class is cooked. The Biden administration, we talk about how horrible and how incompetent they were, just generally. Like, there's obviously there's the corruption part of this. There's the I don't really care about the fate of our people aspect of this. But there's also just the incompetence. The same with the Republicans too. There's not like a difference on the red blue. In terms of the quality that they're providing for the Americans. We're supposed to be happy with the fact that they renamed the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. That's what has the MAGA account super excited. But I'm glad you mentioned the Ukraine. I want to ask you this, because I talked about this a lot yesterday. I want to get your thoughts on this, because Trump, I said 2 years ago that I don't think he was going to end this damn war. And now he's saying that Putin is going crazy. And you guys at DDG, you guys did great coverage about how Ukraine has been attempting to assassinate Russian politicians. They recently tried to attack Putin. And if you watch mainstream coverage from CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, BBC, the DW, anywhere, they will never mention The fact that Ukraine actively tried to assassinate Putin. They just pretend that Russia escalated out of nowhere. But Sarah, what are your thoughts? Do you think that Trump is actually serious about peace in Ukraine? Do you think he's going to achieve it?
No, and I actually didn't know it was as bad as it is until I started researching it for that recent article I wrote about the privatization of Ukraine. He dug into Ukraine.
Drop a link of that article if you have it.
Let me grab it. They are very, very, very dug into Ukraine privately. It's more than BlackRock. It's got Palantir in there, Anduril, SpaceX. They're all in there. So they wanted to calm down. They've talked about it wanting to freeze it. And the thing about this war is that I remember when Trump first mentioned the 24-hour, even he was like, I'll even end it before I take office. We were like, okay, obviously that's just a LARP, or you're kanging or whatever. But even all of the analysts that have been following Ukraine for the last 3 years, 2 years, whatever, even they just hopped on, were all like, you don't understand this war if you think that way. And you don't understand Russia, Ukraine. And that's been a huge issue with this administration already. And it was last time too. It's these cultural, sort of historical blind spots. They don't even understand. They're like, why are they fighting? What are these guys crazy? And you're like, you don't even know. Like, it's a centuries of history. You have no idea about this. Putin's gone crazy. He's bombing cities. And you're like, and you ask him, oh, did you know that he almost got assassinated? No, I didn't know that. That could be why. Like, these people this happened to them in China too. They have a huge blind spot. It's not as bad as for China, but they have a huge blind spot. And they don't even understand the origins of this conflict. And even the Europeans, the people that I talk to understand, but the politicians, you can see that they're even getting far removed from the origins of this actual conflict, because they're getting pulled right back down into the same exact conflict. And that's the problem with the West, is that cliche, history. If you don't learn history, you're doomed to repeat it. And now this is kind of where we are. We're literally repeating history.
I knew, and a lot of people thought I was just being edgy when I said they were like, oh, you just don't like both parties. I don't believe any of these people are gonna create peace in Ukraine, because if you listen to the RNC debate, I actually covered it, and I told you guys I covered it at the time because I only cared about listening to the foreign policy part. I wanted to see what they say about Ukraine. I said it many times straight. I'm interested in seeing what the MAGA response to Biden's Ukraine policy is going to be. Then the RNC debate happened. And then you had Vivek Ramaswamy and these people saying stuff like, all we have to do is separate Russia from China. We had to bring Russia into our sphere of influence. They will stop the war in Ukraine, and we just create economic deals. We can just buy Russian interests away from their national defense interests. So after I heard their solutions, then I started hearing Trump speak. Even the MAGA commentators like Tucker Carlson and many of them, they didn't really have a coherent answer to how to end this war. That one, I'm like, okay, this is very interesting to see. Knowing that Trump served the empire, he's just looking for a reason. His job is to sell the war to the MAGA base. It's easy to sell war with Russia to the liberal base. All you gotta do is say Putin cost Hillary Clinton the election. Now liberals want World War III.
Right?
They want nuclear war because Queen Hillary.
Yep. It's so funny. They have different reasons for hating. And I love that. That's another clue that they're so ignorant to Russia, Ukraine, is that they're like, we'll just buy Russia away from China. It's like, that's not how this even works. That's not how they do foreign policy. You can't buy China either. It's just, they can't understand it because they don't. In that recent book that I read, Fascism, The Career of a Concept, talks about how fascism is actually what happens to countries who skip the natural stage of socialism or communism. There's a natural stage in the progression of a state through industrialization and capitalism into socialism, communism. That is a moral arc, right? Because that's more collectivist, more communal. Fascism happens when they skip that.
Hey, Sarah.
Well, I didn't make it up. It was, you guys this book. It was so good.
Right now.
It's called Fascism, The Career of a Concept. And I thought that was really poignant because we see, and we talk about this, we've talked about how you're not going to understand these civilizational states. They've gone through communism. They understand the concept of a greater good. And look at the West, who has not gone through a period of communism. Even the Eastern Europeans and the Eastern Germans who did go through a period of communism are different than the Western Europeans and the West. It's very important to keep that in mind. And these people have made such a phobia of communism or socialism or anything resemblant of it that they're ready to just go full bore authoritarian and possibly fascism. I call it like techno-fascism because it's very abstract. It's not what people think of when they think fascism. So you're not going to see anybody goose stepping down Lincoln Drive, Lincoln Avenue. They're all behind their computers. It's techno-fascism.
You're spitting right now, and that's why it's easy to convince the conservatives to engage in conflict and war against China because of the red scare. Like, oh my God, they're the scary communists. With China, they had to be a little bit more sneaky to convince liberals to not like them. They just made up bullshit like, fuck, we got to figure out how we got to do this. We got to make up some bullshit. There's a genocide of the Uyghurs. The liberals like, is there a genocide? God damn it. And that's how they got the liberals to hate China. They always got different strategies they use. So once again, like Venezuela, another example. Like for the right wing, Nicolas Maduro is a crazy communist revolutionary following in the direction of Hugo Chavez. That's why the right hates him. Liberals hate him because the establishment says that Nicolas Maduro is a threat to the rule of law.
Yeah. Human rights violations. He's starving the people. No gay rights.
Yes, gay rights is the number one thing they use to get Democrats on board.
The Republicans hate them because they don't let them go in there and raid and pillage their economies. Democrats hate them for fictitious woke bullcrap. Same thing with Putin. We don't like them because they're not natural resource dependent on us. And the liberals don't like them because they don't like gay people have parades. It happens everywhere. That's how they become dictators.
Yeah. I was just reading the super chat. Thank you, Sean. Let's organize a data strike. They say data is more valuable than even oil. I want to read that, man. I don't know. Maybe I'm old, but I'm not buying it. People wouldn't have to travel or miss work. Could get the ball rolling. Thank you for super chat, Sean. I want to get back to this story because I mentioned this in my hotspot. And I also want to cover, and maybe you can speak more in detail about your article if you want to, but this is what I was about to cover. We got sidetracked, but it's fun. But
I can't believe this.
Yeah. I want to pivot back to this story that we just slightly touched on earlier. You guys, Germany and Europe, I have been like obsessed over the last few days. I know we went pretty hard over the China coverage. So I'm like, all right, I'm pretty sure I educated you guys a lot on China. Let me pull back on that a little bit. Let me look at Europe. And I'm like, holy shit. Like, dude, Europe is on fire, man. You have a complete energy crisis on top of Germany's economies is in complete shambles, worse than it's ever been. I will listen to this report, and they said it's going to take at least 20 to 25 years to recover the German economy for what it used to be. Dude, they are deindustrialized. They're in an energy crisis. The standard of living is dropping, not only in Germany, but all over Europe. And then you have the Ukrainian fascists who, based on what I read, I think they're the one who did bomb the Nordstream pipeline. Then they the ruling class, remember the Blackrock-led ruling class is doing everything they can to maintain the energy crisis in Germany. Now ask yourself, why is the ruling class creating on purpose an energy crisis in Europe? I think there's a lot of theories. I don't even know the answer to that, if I'll be honest with you. There's a lot of theories about why they're doing this. To me, it don't make any fucking sense. But there's a lot of good theories I read. But this is what I found interesting while I was doing research for my hotspot video. There's a large coalition in Germany, and now it's even impacting their sellout ruling class. So you have the Social Democrats, and the Social Democrats, don't get me wrong, they're fucking war criminals as well. They're fucking bloodthirsty. They're all down for the war in Ukraine. But you have the Social Democrats are starting to break from Friedrich Merz and his crazy party, where they want to drop sanctions on Nordstream and rebuild the pipeline. And I explained to you, and Sarah, I want to get your thoughts on this, but this is what I mentioned in the video. Is that Nina Shear up there that I saw? Oh, that is her.
Yeah, there she is.
Yeah, that's Nina Shear. And she explained how U.S. forcing Germany not to buy Russian energy is a direct violation of international law. Sanctioning Nord Stream, all this stuff is direct economic terrorism that is not impacting Russians. is hurt. Well, I would say not as much, but it's hurting Europeans the most. But Sarah, did I get anything right? Anything you want to add to this?
No, I'm glad you're digging into it because I haven't really dug into the Germany thing, but the fact that Germany is kind of in an internal battle over whether or not to rebuild Nordstream just shows how cucked they are
to
the West. I mean, Nordstream 2 was making Germany into a powerhouse. And for our viewers that don't know, which I'm sure that there are very few that don't know, this is how World War II started. Is the Germans and the Russians started getting stronger and stronger, and the Anglos said, can't have that. So this is where we're back at today. I mean, people look at World War II and they think it happens in like this very small, it developed over years, decades. So we could be watching stuff like that. And this sort of internal schism in Germany is very alarming, especially since the new leader, Merz, is very out of touch with even his own majority. It's very, very bad. It's not good. But yeah, he said that they will not be rebuilding or reopening Nordstream, which is just a terrible decision for Germany.
Yeah. I love you guys. I love listening to historians and history. There are people who like fascinate over World War II. They spend their whole life over it. And you ask them when World War II started, they will say stuff like, well, you can say it started in 1939, or technically you can go back to the Napoleon era. Like, honestly, guys, World War II is so deep. You can go back hundreds of years. I've seen people, and I'm not as adept as I've seen and listened to some people, but the way countries was divided after the Napoleon conquest, there are people who made argument that led up to the tensions that started. Anyway, it's a fucking rabbit hole. There was a lot of, as you mentioned, dynamics that led to that, and we're going down the same. The history is repeating itself. I'm gonna see if I can find this article. I was reading it earlier today. You have German military that's completely rebuilt. You know, they are marching in the streets once again. Germany, the country that's supposed to be demilitarized, they militarized again. You want to know who else militarized again? Who we demilitarized? Japan, who just so happened to be ruled by the same ruling party who refused to apologize over their atrocities in World War II. They have a far-right party who refused to apologize for Japan war crimes. Now they are remilitarizing at the direction of Joe Biden and the neocon right in Europe. And now Japan has a military budget that's like 2 times higher than it was 5 years ago.
Interesting, right?
Yeah.
Is that when Germany and Japan were militarizing for World War II, our private capital helped them. Henry Ford and others helped the Nazis and Imperial Japan rearm. And that's what we're doing again. They want Germany fully armed and ready to go to war by 2029, which is psychotic in and of itself, just to even think you could do that in that amount of time. Just bonkers stuff. And Japan as well. They want to remilitarize.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the article. This one's blocked. Japan, I covered this a while ago. Japan damn near doubled their military over 5 years. And then the West would say, oh my God, don't you know that China and North Korea, they are becoming a more militarized society? You motherfucker, Imperial Japan was destroyed for a reason. The fact that, I'm going to see if I can find another article. The fact that Japan is threatening China after everything you've done to the Chinese people, that the Chinese people, if you go on Red Note, Zhang Su, they will never let people forget it. They're like, hey guys, do you know what, hey Americans, do you guys remember what Japan did to us in World War II, by the way? But if you look at it, there's so many of these stories. Look, Japan's modernizes its military to counter regional threats, aka China. So the people like Biden, and not just Biden, there's a lot of people who push this. Near Tandem is very close to Shinzo Abe and the ruling party in Japan, and they was convincing them to get your military back in order just in case we have this war.
Abe's wife, her widow, is with Putin today.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
She was with Putin.
You know about that?
She was crying. They were talking about her husband, and I don't know why she was even there, but I thought that was very interesting. And you know what's very interesting? I was just looking for headlines to pull up for you. And Bad Bunny is rapping about Japanese islands that are involved in territorial disputes with the Chinese. Isn't that weird?
What?
I'm going to send you this link because this is wild. It says, this is a, I'm not going to try to, Yonaguni. Yonaguni is a serene Japanese island featured in a Bad Bunny song and at the front of a U.S.-Chinese war.
Wow.
So Bad Bunny's a plant, I guess.
Bro, I don't believe anyone in Hollywood becomes famous without being a fucking plant at this point. Like, do anyone believe any of these people are real anymore? Like all these people come out and they endorse Democrat or Republican. Oh man, I'm supporting Trump. I think Democrats went too far left. Like Lil Wayne, people like that. Then you have the vote or die motherfuckers, Diddy.
Oh,
Diddy in line with Hillary and them. Like, bro, all these motherfuckers sold their soul. Beyonce shaking her ass for genocide. Mm-hmm. Beyonce twerking for genocide. Yep, Megan Thee Stallion, the horse lady, she's twerking for genocide.
I know. My poor Megan.
You don't fucking make that. You don't make it without selling out. Period.
That's true.
I don't believe there's a single person clean in Hollywood. Not a single person. If they do, they have a few movies and they get yanked like Eddie Griffin did. The homie from Kansas City. Remember Undercover Brother? That motherfucker, he was about to break out star. Then this motherfucker started talking about conspiracy theories, and you never saw that motherfucker in Hollywood ever again, didn't you?
Yep, exactly.
He started calling out the crimes of the ruling class. Eddie Griffin, I don't agree with him on a lot of things. He really socially conservative. He really religious. But he calls out a lot of bullshit that the ruling class don't want you to hear, and they killed his career. He's like the best example of how someone who's talented, Eddie Griffin, if you listen to his stand-ups, he as funny as anyone in our generation. He had a stand-up in, I'm sorry I ran here, but he had a stand-up in like 2006 that's still to this day the funniest stand-up I ever heard. He was I would say on par with Dave. I'll put him like a tier below, but he's very talented. He easily could have made it, but they killed his career. They killed his fucking career because they couldn't control him. He openly talks about this. He had a show. He openly talked about how they try to control him, all the bullshit they used to do to him. And he's like, nah, man, I'm a fucking brother. I ain't doing none of this shit. Anyway, that's my side point. Sorry, guys. But my point is, you can't be famous. You're not making it famous unless you fucking supporting genocide. You have Floyd Mayweather, Shaq, they all was saying great things about Israel. It's a fucking mess, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, don't get me fucking started on that. But anyway, let me get back to this story. And then I want to talk about your article a little bit more in depth if you want to. Mm-hmm. I just think this is so fascinating. There should be fucking riots in the streets, bro. Actually, this is not the exact article I was looking for, but it actually kind of fits because I want to show you guys how Frederick Merz shut the door on Nordstream. Let me pull it. I actually pulled the wrong article. I did not realize that. Let me quick. I'm gonna find it here real quick. Here it is. So I literally just read it. Here it is. Germany will do everything to prevent Nord Stream 2 restart. So think about what happened. You have people in the Social Democrat Party, because of massive backlash from the German people and they're falling the quality of life. That's why they're speaking up. People in the Social Democrats, that's why they're saying, hey, man, maybe we should restart Nord Stream. After this movement started, that's when Frederick Merz, the Blackrock occupied chancellor of Germany, says absolutely not. And he will do everything he can to prevent the restart of Nord Stream 2. There's a massive infighting even among Germany. The cracks are starting to form, which is why Putin, knowing that Trump is under massive pressure from people like Alex Jones, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Germany is in shambles, UK is in shambles. Putin tried to sit back and cook, my friends. Exactly. And then Trump was wondering why he's not rushing to the negotiation table. Why would Putin rush in this situation? He just has to cook. Sorry, Sarah.
That's exactly what yesterday with Garland is exactly that. It's the do nothing win. You're not going to beat a civilizational state if you're a state like America because you want immediate gratification and things to happen. Like we're planning for the next 5 to 10 years, maybe 50 in a perfect scenario. These people are planning for the next 500. Okay. China is a 5,000-year-old civilizational state. Russia's what, 2,000 years old, something crazy like that, like 1,500 years old. Like, I'm talking as the nation, not the actual state, obviously. But these people have been established forever and ever. So they know longevity. So all they have to do is sit back and cook. Exactly that. This Russia-Ukraine thing, Putin has to barely lift a finger. He just has to sit there and let the Americans look ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. They look buffoonish. And now the Europeans are like, we will literally shoot ourselves in the face before doing business with Russia because our Anglo backers and Blackrock say so. So all Russia has to do is sit there. Even if, I mean, and Russia's very keen to listen. You mentioned the Vivek thing yesterday. That has been a plan for a while, was to kind of wedge between Russia and China and create this sort of Israel, United States, Russia alliance. That's not going to happen. And they know it's not going to happen. And that's why they started going to the Gulf. So Russia and China, all they have to do is just sit back and watch. It's a shame Iran can't enjoy the same luxury. But yeah, they really don't have to do anything. We're imploding. The West is imploding.
Very well said. I want to get some more of your insights. I know I've been very ranty today, and you started writing again. That's actually before I became a YouTuber. People actually like peer pressure me to do this, and now we got RBN. But I actually used to write stuff that first. Like that's what I had that article where I said Black people need to reject Barack Obama and neoliberalism and brain.
Wow.
And that article randomly went viral, and that's how everything got started from here. But anyway, I'm glad to see you writing. I want to get back writing again. It's a great like break from streaming. I'm glad to see you're doing this. I want you to explain this. Like the concept of this article is why the NATO left drives me crazy. Like I know I'm constantly shivving Bernie, Ro Khanna, and those people. But the NATO left is so nefarious to me. You guys claim to be against privatization. You guys claim to be against capital, war in pursuit of capital, while supporting the Ukraine war. That's so disgusting. So I want you to explain this article because you explain. Actually, I want you to explain your article. Thank you for sharing this, Sarah.
Well, it's about the privatization of Ukraine. So, and we can go through it a little bit, but what alarmed me is that when they recently did this mineral deal, they were pushing for the mineral deal. They also came across a couple days later, maybe a week or two, and did a really strange $50 million arms deal. They announced it as such. They said, "Oh, $50 million arms deal." I said, "Well, $50 million is not nothing. What is this arms deal? Why are they even talking about it? Or why are they even bothering?" Then I looked into it, and it's not really a $50 million arms deal. It's a $50 minimum contract for private companies to come in and do arms deals with Ukraine. And the way that Ukraine pays for these arms is through their minerals. So it's literally just minerals. They used to do arms for oil. Now we're doing arms for minerals. So that's what this is turning into. And there's a lot of different entities that are very interested in this. They've completely changed the process from a direct, from FMS to DCS, which is foreign military sales, to direct commercial sales, which you guys can obviously understand the language. They've gone from public, traceable, accountable contracts through the governments to now private. We have no idea what they're sending Ukrainians. We have no idea what they're doing because the stuff is coming from people like Anduril and other and even Lockheed Martin, I think, isn't on it. So it has to do with the privatization of that. It also talks about how a lot of the weapons that are now being moved over to Ukraine through this deal were tested in Gaza. So I think that that's an interesting tie-in. So it's become like this sort of loop of connectivity to where they're kind of experimenting in the Levant with AI and weapons, and then they're moving those weapons into other theaters after they've been tested. Just really, really sick stuff. Obviously, the IMF and the WEF are involved. Bechtel's involved. They're planning on the reconstruction. And the interesting thing is that we shut down USAID, And all the rats that left the ship when we shut it down are all involved in these private deals. One of the most senior leaders of USAID is now leading the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. People from the USAID are doing deals in Ukraine. So it's more of the same. They've just privatized it. And I was actually myself quite shocked when I started doing research. I mean, we all know about the Blackrock. We all know about all the stuff, but I didn't know that there are European Business Association. There's a Global Business for Ukraine. There's a Ukraine Invest. There's all these different pop-up things. And I even went to sites where I could buy permits to open up businesses and then get contracts. Wow. So I found a lawyer in Ukraine. You could pay him $700 to get a medical, like a business license to open a medical facility or a medical supply center. And those people get government contracts. So there's a huge grift going on in Ukraine, and they're not going to stop it. No way are they going to stop it. And that was what the article was really about, is to show people that there's so much privatization going on that all this other crap is just crap. When they talk about, we don't want people to die. Yeah, of course they don't want people to die, but they don't want the war to end. You should see the amount of money these people are making. It's bonkers. And the thing is that we've knocked down that fourth wall. So it's not the scary people always, like Eric Prince and the dark, the shadow people of Lockheed Martin and Halliburton. These are regular people like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and like internet kids. Palmer Luckey. These people it's bonkers. It's really, it's like a pandemonium. It's like a gold rush out there.
Yeah. Very great coverage as always. I have one more quick story. I know we probably will wrap up around the hour, but I have one more quick story I want to cover. This is not going to be a long story. I just want to do a segment, at least one, on the situation in Israel and Gaza. We're seeing like Hunger Games style concentration camps being set up. The suffering of the Palestinian people right now is unspeakable. I can't even show you. Like I was going through a lot of receipts, but for the sake of our child, I don't know what I can even show. Like that image of that girl walking through fire.
You can't show that. Yeah, you can't.
Yeah.
I wouldn't post it anyway because I was just so.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. Like this.
I did write an article about this as well, and it's free now. The Ukraine one's not free, but the ones about Gaza are now free. About what you're talking about, the privatization, the concentration, they're literally concentration camps.
Yeah, that's
these sort of, I mean, that's the definition of a concentration camp, is to concentrate people in one area. So they decrease the amount of places where Palestinians could get their aid. They had over a dozen down to 4, and they're only located in the South, Central, and South. So they are concentrating all of the people down to the South, Central, and South to then take over the North. On Monday was when they were supposed to commence this big, beautiful business plan to distribute aid in Gaza. It erupted in pandemonium. They've got private mercenary contractors running these sites. They shot people. People died. There was a stampede, and the place was just absolutely. It was a pandemonium. It was pandemonium. They think each site is going to feed 300,000 people a day. There are less than 500 United States military contractors. How even 500 at one site is not enough? 500 spread all across the sites. The guy that was running the whole thing the other day quit. He quit on Friday or Saturday because he said he couldn't do this anymore because of how bad it is. He didn't say those words, but if you read his resignation, he says, I can no longer do this with like neutrality, humanitarian law. Like he's telling people, like, Israel's telling me what I can and can't do. They're not allowing me to adhere to humanitarian law. What the hell is really going on in there? So not only are the IDF shooting, now the mercenaries are shooting, and nobody is accountable when these mercenaries start shooting. The only thing that they're accountable to is the Israeli and the American courts, and they're not going to go after them. So yeah, we have these mercenaries getting paid $1,100 a day to stand around and distribute aid that they couldn't care less about. They have no humanitarian background. They're all either prior CIA spooks or they're prior military. The guy who runs it literally said, I joined them. I'm a degenerate who joined the military to hurt people. That's who's in charge of running the aid in Gaza.
That's who they are. That's who they are.
And this is what you get. And Gaza is a little bit different. Ukraine follows more of an Iraq model. Gaza is different because they're actually instituting concentration camps, and they're pushing people deliberately out. They didn't really do that so much in Iraq. The Iraqis did on their own accord, like through internal tribal fights and whatnot, but it wasn't systematic. This is systematic. They're pushing I think my theory, and this is me being black-pilled, is that they want to force them into the Sinai and give people, they're going to basically whittle it down until people are left with no choice.
Yeah, I think that's 100% what they're about to do. It's clear. You got the people of Gaza of Israel who want to expel Gaza. So far, the people who just say it's only Netanyahu, 82% of Jewish Israelis back expelling Gazans. That's 100% what they're trying to accomplish here. And it's pretty sad to see anything that's going on, and how people can justify it and this is another receipt that's like mind-blowing. It's absolutely mind-blowing. Because they'll say, oh, don't you know that all Hamas has to do is return the hostages? all Hamas has to do is return the hostages.
They're picking up hostages now while they're doing the aid. That's also in the article that I wrote. They found at least 5 people that have been kidnapped, so to be imprisoned. So while this is going on, they're creating more hostages through the aid. So don't forget, the aid has biometric and like Palantir and all that type of facial recognition. The aid centers do. And you need to be scanned and escorted by an armed guard to get your aid. So Israel knows everybody that's going to each and every site, when, how, where, what they're getting, et cetera, et cetera. And they obviously have people of interest, or they make them up, whatever, it's Israel. But then they're going down there and they're picking them up. And people are being kidnapped and not coming home after they're going to pick up aid. So that's interesting. I didn't even know that this headline you're telling me for the first time. That's interesting that it kind of coincides with that.
Yeah, and whenever they have these hostage exchanges and deals, the corporate media always focus on the Israeli hostages.
Yep.
There'll be like 2 or 3 of them that come back. Yeah. And then in exchange, there'll be like 200 Palestinians. And then every once in a while, a dumb right winger will start asking questions. They'll say, why is Israel giving so many Palestinians back, but only getting 3 Israelis? Like, you see right wingers say this all the time. They say this on Fox News. They said, isn't Israel nice? They were giving us so many of their prisoners in exchange for You're so close. You're so close, boo-boo. The question you should be asking yourself is, why does Israel have so many Palestinian hostages? Because isn't it interesting how a Palestinian teenager will be called a prisoner when, by the way, they kidnapped these Palestinian teenagers from Gaza under the charge that they're militants, and their only evidence is that they're military-age male. They're like, oh, they're teenagers, they might be members of Hamas, and there's no due process.
None.
So there are Palestinians who get kidnapped off the street, or they will be accused of throwing pebbles that they call stones, and they will kidnap them, and they will be in these Israeli torture dungeons for years. For years. And then people wonder why Hamas did October 7th. You know how many Palestinians they freed after that? Because there was already a war where Israel was kidnapping and just taking Palestinians off the street willy-nilly. And this headline is kind of bullshit because they was already doing it.
Yes.
Look, new Israeli law allowed Palestinians as young as 12. So I think they're like, I guess we finally put it on the books. Because do Zionists have a healthy relationship with the truth, friends? Because if you follow this issue, you see it all the time where you would see pictures of Israeli concentration camps, and they will claim that everyone in the concentration camp is military-aged males. And then people will look at these and like, hold up, that Palestinian over there, he looks kind of young, doesn't he? You know what I mean? Palestinian children that they just kidnap. Meanwhile, dumbass Westerners would be like, return the hostages. You mean the same hostages?
I'm trying to laugh, but that's literally all they do. It's like, return the hostages. And I'm like, we don't even know if there's any left. We don't know who's there. We don't know anything about it. The other day, somebody said, all they have to, like, all they want is surrender from Hamas. And I was like, who is Hamas? Who determines when they've all surrendered? Who determines who can surrender on behalf of Hamas? Who determines all of this? I can just see it now. Even if they did agree to a ceasefire today, I don't know if you missed that, but it's like they must unconditionally surrender. And I'm like, but who is going to unconditionally surrender? And where does it end? Because, Israel will just say there's another 10 left. There's another 100 left. There's more Hamas now. The kids are growing up. The kid, that's why they made this law about the kids. They're deathly afraid of the children becoming radicalized. I've seen interviews on the street in Israel lately, and that's very common sentiment, that they're very worried about the radicalized children, rightfully so. I mean, the kids should be radicalized at this point if they're not completely traumatized out of their minds,
And that's so crazy to say, because Israeli children are way more radicalized. Have you guys see what Israelis are taught? They all believe that Palestinians are children of Amalek or some shit. That they all should be genocided, and these people are not even human. Like, if you listen to a teenage Israeli, and Abby Martin, for example, she one of the people I used to watch a lot when I was first understanding this issue. Abby Martin had a great series where she would just talk to Israeli citizens without being hostile. It'll be Israeli teenagers, young women, and they sound like members of the fucking Klan. Like, just average Israelis. They just sound like fucking Klan members. This is the breaking news. I didn't really read much on this. I saw you mention this. I wanted to find a receipt. This shows how much
headline. Hamas gives a cool response.
Yeah, what kind of fucking headline is this?
You want them to be like, what do you want them to greet you with flowers at this point? It's been 2 years of genocide. I don't understand you. I don't know. Anyway, go ahead.
No, you cracked me up because I love how you beat me to it, because my first response when I saw this headline was, the fuck is this? Hamas gives a cool response? The fuck? How many air drafts did this go through?
Israel accepts the U.S. offer. Hamas gives cool response.
What the fuck? That's crazy. Anyway, I don't know that much of the details of this, so I'm just giving you guys my response. This shows how much pressure Israel is under. Because remember, you had Spain that was supporting an arms embargo. I'm not sure if it's passed anything to Parliament. I'm not sure that yet, but I know there's been calls for arms embargo. You have people in the streets in France calling for sanctions. So, guys, Israel doesn't do stuff like this when things are going well for them. So this is great news in the sense that Israel is fucked. Because why would they accept this? They accept this because they are under massive pressure. My second reaction to this live, just right to this, is that there's no way that Israel or Trump is going to uphold this.
No. So or they'll lie and say that somebody broke it.
Yeah, so we're seeing the same storyline again. So I want to give you guys the good and the bad. The good is this is a sign that Israel is under massive pressure and they're losing. The bad is there's no way that Trump is going to enforce a ceasefire. And if there's ever a quote-unquote ceasefire break, you already know the Western media is going to blame Hamas about it. So I don't think the ceasefire is going to hold any fucking water. If in 3 weeks that this ceasefire is still holding, I will be shocked. So that's my live reaction, Sarah. Anything you want to add?
I agree. I agree. I think that the ceasefire, temporary ceasefire, is also indicative that they're getting in there and getting these aid areas set up. And things could change. Obviously, things are incredibly volatile inside of Gaza, especially at these aid centers, and rightfully so. I think it's going to get much worse. I don't see this. I don't even remember how long the ceasefire is. 30 days, I think they accepted, which is quite long.
So in 30 days, Israel's going to break it in 4 days.
You give it 4? All right, I'll be nice and I'll give it 6. We'll reconvene.
Yeah.
I hope it holds. I honestly do. But even in the most perfect conditions where a ceasefire holds and Israel doesn't kill anybody, we've got 4 concentration camps that are set up and sponsored blessed by the United States. So they're very screwed at this moment anyway, and we need to make sure that. Thank you so much, Landrew.
Thanks, Landrew.
We need to make sure that we're kind of ringing the alarms about this. What they're doing is no new wars. It was meant no new American deployments for the soldiers. They're still very much engaged in private war. I'm writing another article right now on Eric Prince, who was looking to switching his focus to Latin America. So just get ready, because the war machine is very much alive and healthy. It doesn't have to run alongside of the military. It can do its own thing. It's completely private. So no new wars means no new public funded wars, but they're very much still at war covertly.
Yeah, I always enjoy these power hours. We across all the platforms, we dual stream these together. I very much enjoy these shows. Yeah. We have do you see that number? 3,000 people watching across all the platforms.
Oh wow, that's great.
Yeah, I don't know if you see that number now. I don't know if you can.
I can't see it now.
Across DDG, YouTube, and X, my X and YouTube, we got 3,000 people watching, so that's great. One last thing I'll share, just because I'm still reacting kind of to this news. Israel violated the last ceasefire hundreds of times. No, this is an old story. I'm showing you guys how Israel has. You guys know how they're like laws of science. Like, you know how, like, if you put something up in the air, it must fall down. The law of gravity, that kind of stuff. The law of relativity. If Israel signs a ceasefire, Israel will break the ceasefire. It's a law of geopolitics. So. It always smart, especially in their situation as the Palestinians, to accept any relief. But I know that they expect, and everyone should expect, that they will break this ceasefire. I'm trying to find a specific headline. Oh, Jesus Christ. This is similar to what I was looking for. Look, Israel has violated Lebanon's ceasefire hundreds of times, 100 times in just the first week. So if there's anything that is true in this universe, it is Israel will break a ceasefire. It absolutely will. But I am to take a positive note of this news. That is, it is a bad sign of Israel that they would even accept this. They only accepted this because of the pressure coming from the UK and Germany and many others.
Yeah.
I'm reading the last super chat and we can get out here, Sarah. Thanks for the $100, Landrew. I appreciate the support. Thank you for this, Sarah. Nick, Israel forever low taste is fucked. Free Palestine, free Palestine.
We might be on a list now. Free Palestine. Put us on the list.
Yeah.
CDFI.
Sarah, any last thoughts? I always enjoy doing these shows. This
was great. If you guys have any questions about the article, just hit me up on Twitter or find me in a space. I'm willing to talk about any of it. It's all very kind of eye-opening and interesting. And I think that this is what we need to start focusing on, is the privatization of stuff, because they're hiding everything. Once the shutdown of USAID happened and this gutting of the military, etc., it's going to get really ugly and very secretive. So, I mean, Eric Prince is back and they're pardoning everybody left and right. So, yeah,
keep up the good work. Sorry for no Jamal today, but you guys know life, things happen. We definitely will reschedule that in the future. Yep. Hope you guys enjoy the show. Always great doing the Power DDG RBN show. If you're on the RBN side, make sure you guys subscribe to DDG. And if you're on DDG, I hope you guys will do the same. Even though I know our audience overlap a lot, but you never know. Hope you guys enjoy the show. I'll see you guys next week. I might do a Saturday show. We'll see. But I have a lot planned coming up. So we see when next time for you guys. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was trying to remember. I knew I was forgetting something. JB and Savvy show. I was stalling. What the fuck am I forgetting?
Yeah, you guys got a double header.
JB show. That's in an hour. And they have Rachel Blevin. So this is a big.
Oh, Rachel. She's such a doll. Okay. Well, everybody have a good weekend, and I'll see you guys on Sunday.
All right, peace out, y'all.
Bye.